All right, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back. We are getting back to our draft profiles, our draft evaluations for the upcoming 2025 NFL draft. We're not even a month away now, so we've got a lot of stuff to get through. We got plenty of time to do it. Everything should be good, but we got to keep moving, got to keep looking, got to keep adjusting based on what we learn. And today we're going to go ahead and push through the first half of the tight end class. We're going to do tight ends today and tight ends tomorrow, and then we'll move on to other positions after that. But we are going to have 2 days for the tight ends. It's a very good class. It's actually a pretty deep class, and there's a lot to talk about. This video is powered by BetUS TV. And we're going to go ahead and start off with the two guys that are likely to be first-round picks. So these are your two first-round pick tight ends. We're starting off with the big one here, Tyler Warren. So I think that we as Seahawks fans have a pretty good understanding that as of right now, the Seahawks are a little bit, they're not really in a good position to be able to just add on another high-profile tight end. But the guys up here, the guys up in this range, are definitely good enough to where if you got one, you could maybe part ways with Noah Fant. So understand that when we're talking about a guy like a Tyler Warren or the other guy we're going to talk about in this video, we're talking about straight up replacing Noah Fant and freeing up that cap space for maybe something else. Who knows what, but something. But Tyler Warren is definitely that guy. Penn State, going to be 23 when the season starts. 6'5.5", good size. Arms are a little bit short. That's about the biggest problem I could find with him, to be perfectly honest, though. Every big board has him in the top 26, and the one that doesn't have him in the top 19 is Walter Football, and they're way behind. So CBS is the lowest big board that actually frequently updates on him, and they're at 19. Two big boards have him in the top 10. The aggregate has him 10th. So he has become a very hot commodity in this draft, coming off a remarkable season, over 1,200 yards receiving, over 100 catches, 8 touchdowns, ran for over 200 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns, also threw a few passes. It was a monstrous season. It was as good as it gets. Almost 1,500 offensive yards. The previous year, he was a lot more quiet, still effective, still 34 catches, 422 yards, decent enough. But that 2024 season, we really, really saw what Tyler Warren is made of. So the pros with him are very obvious, but they are numerous. He doesn't drop a lot of passes. He's got the great hands that you look for in a receiving tight end. I mean, you don't catch 104 passes without having good hands typically. He moves well. He shifts gears well when going through his routes. He's a good route runner. He's somebody who understands how to vary up his speed to throw off defenses. He's someone who adds value as a running back and a trick play quarterback. I think he even lines up as a quarterback every now and then. I'm not saying it's going to be a big part of his game, but if you look at somebody like a Taysom Hill, there is a way to make it work with a player like that. He's a really good route runner, like I said, just in general, really good at cutting at the break point, really good at getting leverage on defenders. He's a good contested catcher, and he's a good blocker as well. He can block downfield, he can block at the line. He's got extensive experience lining up in the slot, in line, even a little bit wide in the backfield. He lines up everywhere. And maybe bigger than any of these things that we're talking about, he's got this burning desire to be great that I think pretty much everyone who really watches football can see when they see his willingness to do whatever it takes to win. Before I go any further, though, I do want to talk a little bit about BetUS TV. Obviously, the football season is over, but there remains a lot of intriguing stuff going on in football right now. The draft is coming up, and there are interesting opportunities to wager on whether or not you think a certain player is going to go before or after a certain spot. What team do you think certain players are going to go to? There are still a couple of choice free agents, and there's certainly interesting questions about where they land. So there is certainly still some intrigue in this offseason, some things we don't know about. So check out BetUS TV and consider what might happen that we don't know about yet this offseason. All right, so the issues with Tyler Warren, as I see it, are he doesn't really have the downfield speed to be a big play threat. Like, you send Tyler Warren up the seam on an NFL defense, I don't know if that's going to be that effective. You might be better off just having him work the short to intermediate areas. He does need to improve some of his techniques as a blocker, needs to improve his hands, needs to improve his base, needs to get a little bit stronger. He's good, but if you want to be great, you got to get a little bit better there. And physical defenders do take him out of the game. That should be take, not another can take him out of the game. If you're physical with him, you can definitely frustrate him in ways you don't like. But nevertheless, he is pretty much a do-everything player. I find it very hard to believe that he won't become one of the best tight ends in football. Honestly, the biggest issue with Tyler Warren is he's too good. He's too good. We're not going to be able to draft him. He's done so well this season that his draft stock has gotten to the point where him getting to 18 just doesn't seem very realistic to me. In my book, he's pretty clearly a top 10 player in this draft. Maybe even in my book, he might be like top 8 or something. He's not Brock Bowers, but he's trying. And I don't see how he gets down to 18 anymore. Honestly, I'm not convinced he even gets out of the top 10. I think that maybe the over-under for his draft positioning should be like 8, 7 or 8 or something. So big fan of Tyler Warren. Very little bad to say about him. Got one other first-round tight end in this draft. It's Colston Loveland of the Michigan Wolverines. 21 when the season starts, so he's a good deal younger, which is always interesting. 6'6", 248. Decent-sized arms, too, 32 3/4. 10-inch hands, so he's a bigger guy. A little bit lean, maybe, but he's a bigger guy. Every big board has him in the first round. The Draft Network actually has him 6th. ESPN has him 10th. The aggregate has him 19th, which is right around where we pick, so we got to talk this one through and take this pretty seriously. Last 2 seasons, he's been productive. He did miss a good amount of time in 2024. If he didn't, he probably would have had a monster season. It's a little bit interesting to try to dissect, though, right? Because 2023, he actually had a decent quarterback. He had a good offense. He had a lot of good players around him. And he was much more efficient. 62 targets. He averaged more than 10 yards per target in 2023. 2024, I don't believe he was a worse player, but he becomes so much less efficient because almost all the good players around him left for the pros, including his quarterback, including his head coach, I guess. Let's put that out there. And he really suffered for it, man. But he's still a very good player. I'm sure that if he had a remotely competent quarterback situation in decent health, he would have had a 1,000-yard season. So let's talk about him as a prospect rather than just his production. Got a big catch radius. He's tall, he's got pretty long arms, and he's got pretty good athleticism. If you put the ball in his general vicinity, he's at least getting his hands on it. He's got the open field athleticism and twitch and vision to be a good yards after the catch player. When he's in the open field, you get him the ball in space, he's going to make good things happen with the ball in his hands. He can run a wide variety of routes very, very well. He has pretty much the entire route tree at his disposal. He can run short, intermediate, or deep. Handles press coverage very well. He's got a very good understanding of how to beat press with his arms. He's a really good athlete for his size. I mean, I don't think he would be like I'm not saying he's Vernon Davis or anything like that, but for a guy who's 6'6", he moves quite well. He's pretty quick, pretty fast. He's got great hands, very few drops. He's a good contested catch guy. Uses his height well to win at the point of the catch. And I do think there's some upside here as a blocker. It's not great upside, but there is some stuff here that I think is at least repairable. Now, we'll go more into that in a second here. But if you take a look at some of the issues that Colston Loveland has, I think that, first 2024 should have been his big breakout year. And then he got hurt. And between that and not having a quarterback, I don't feel like we know fully what he could be. Right? 2023, he doesn't put up big numbers because there's so many good players around him, and Michigan just runs the ball 800 times a game. In 2024, that was supposed to be kind of the year we could find out what this guy could really do if he cranks up all the engines. And he ended up doing good, right? But lost a lot of efficiency. He does have a lean body, like he's 6'6", but he's not even 250 pounds. So I do think there is a limited upside as a blocker. I think that he may end up being a pure receiver in the NFL level, to be perfectly honest. It would not surprise me if he ends up as one of those tight ends that you can just never ask to block. He could end up being a Jimmy Graham, and it wouldn't shock me that much. A lot of people are comparing him to Juwan Johnson, and Juwan Johnson is a former wide receiver. He really doesn't block. So I think there's something of a ceiling there. And while he is a good route runner and he runs a lot of different routes, gear shifting doesn't come to him. He kind of does everything at 100 miles an hour. And when you're running routes, sometimes part of the trick is shifting gears so you're not always going at 100 miles an hour. So the defender is constantly having to think about the fact that you're varying your speed. So that's something that can be fixed. The blocking stuff can be partially fixed, but I don't think he'll ever be anything more than like a mediocre blocker. Maybe he can be like Noah Fant, right? Like Noah Fant's a adequate blocker. You hope he can get to that point. So I find him to be a little bit frustrating. Like there was a time where Loveland was the universally considered top tight end in this class above Warren, and Warren kind of overtook him as the season went on. It's hard for me to see Loveland in the same tier as Warren right now. And technically they are both in the same tier. They're both first round tight ends. They're both guys who are expected to be top 20 picks. And I think there's just a clear difference there because Loveland doesn't seem like he's going to be a very good blocker. He might not even be an average blocker. I think that he will be a very good pass catching tight end, and he'll be a great playmaker. And there is certainly room in the league for players like that. I just have to wonder if you're comparing him to someone like Warren, who can do it all, it just doesn't hit the same. And the interest the Seahawks had in signing Juwan Johnson in free agency does indicate they're willing to take on a tight end that doesn't block, like Loveland. But I cannot help but be... Right after looking at Warren, it's just hard to get that excited here. But I'd go back into the first round. I wouldn't go higher than that. I think he's a little overvalued on these big boards for the most part. I would put him about where Walter Football has him, honestly. Walter has him at 28. I think that's probably about right. It's possible that if I wasn't just finishing looking at Warren, I would feel differently. But, I mean, I think he's a first-round pick. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going crazy here, but it was a little bit harder for me to rally around this one, knowing that the NFL is very short on really good blocking tight ends right now, which increases the value of a guy like a Tyler Warren so much. But Loveland's really good too. And if we get him at 18, I'm not going to be thrilled with it, but it's not going to be bad either. He's going to be a very good playmaker in this league. All right, that's it for the first round tight ends. Another video coming in a couple of hours with more draft stuff. Thank you to BetUS for powering this video. And keep an eye out for tonight's Bleacher Report show. Remember, I'll be posting the link up a little bit later. And everyone remember to check that out. See you guys later. Go Hawks.